Andy Cohen offers a worrying update about Real Housewives of New Jersey future. The Real Housewives of New Jersey's future looks less certain by the week. We already knew that producers were going back to the drawing board for the show and that there was a chance it may not even return. Unfortunately, Andy Cohen's latest update makes us believe the show is no longer a priority for Bravo. In a new interview with Deadline, the producer discussed the current state of the Real Housewives universe. When asked about the decision to pause the Real Housewives of Dubai after its recent second season, he said that while he loves that franchise, a pause is a pause. He then said, "We're looking at what we're doing with Jersey, which was effectively paused earlier this year because the cast dynamic got so toxic during season 14 that the show was split into two sides. While the season had some great scenes, the toxicity didn't go down well with fans who believe the series needs a revamp to shift dynamics. We are taking our time," he said before adding that he and his fellow producers are in no rush to bring the show back for a new season. Real Housewives of New Jersey will not be back on the air soon. Hearing that there's no rush suggests that the focus is not on Real Housewives of New Jersey and that the network could ultimately decide that another season isn't needed. There was much talk about the show's diminished ratings during season 14. But now that the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills and the Real Housewives of Orange County have returned to series lows, Real Housewives of New Jersey is currently the top-rated entry. This revelation could theoretically mean that the changes to Real Housewives of New Jersey will not be as severe as anticipated and that the network will hold off as long as possible to start filming, hoping that most of the ladies will be open to working through their issues. One cast member probably won't be invited back. It's hard to imagine Danielle Cabral being invited back because the show will be trying to distance itself from violence, and she was a bit too unpredictable. It would be far easier for her to return if she took accountability for her outbursts, but she's sent mixed messages since filming concluded, which hasn't earned her any more fans. The Real Housewives universe has been in doubt recently due to diminished ratings, so it will be interesting to see which direction executives go with it. It's hard to imagine an outright cancellation, but there's no telling what's happening nowadays. Andy Cohen's voice carried a tone rarely heard from the Bravo maestro: uncertainty. The host of Watch What Happens Live and Bravo's ultimate decision maker had gathered a select group of reporters for an exclusive press conference in New York City. Fans had been buzzing with questions about the fate of the Real Housewives of New Jersey for months, but no one expected Andy to break the fourth wall so candidly. "I wish I had better news," Andy began, his trademark grin replaced by a furrowed brow. "But I owe it to the fans to be honest. The future of Real Housewives of New Jersey is complicated. A show in chaos." The rumors had been swirling for weeks. Teresa Giudice, the franchise's centerpiece since its debut in 2009, was reportedly considering stepping back after more than a decade of table flipping, family feuds, and larger-than-life storylines. This wasn't just idle gossip, Andy confirmed the whispers with a heavy sigh. "Teresa has given so much to this show," he said, his voice tinged with admiration. "She's been the heart of New Jersey, but she's also human. She's going through a lot, family dynamics, personal growth, and let's face it, the toll of being in the spotlight for so long. She's weighing her options, and we're respecting her space." Teresa's potential departure wasn't the only issue. Behind the scenes, the cast dynamics had reportedly hit an all-time low. Melissa Gorga and Jennifer Aydin were said to be barely speaking, Jackie Goldschneider had stepped back into a friend of a role with mixed reception, and Danielle Cabral's bold attempts to stir the pot had created fractures rather than bridges. "There's always drama, that's what makes Housewives what it is," Andy acknowledged. "But there's a difference between good drama and toxic drama. Right now, New Jersey is struggling to find that balance." The Teresa effect. For fans, the idea of Real Housewives of New Jersey without Teresa Giudice was almost unfathomable. Andy admitted as much, calling her irreplaceable. But he also acknowledged that the show couldn't hinge on one person forever. "We've had these moments before," he said, referencing Nene Leakes' departure from The Real Housewives of Atlanta and Lisa Vanderpump's exit from Beverly Hills. It's always a challenge, but it's also an opportunity to evolve. That said, Teresa is New Jersey. If she steps away, it's a seismic shift. The network had reportedly been exploring ways to future-proof the franchise. One idea involved leaning into the next generation, focusing on Teresa's daughters, particularly Gia Giudice. The 23-year-old had grown up before viewers' eyes, and her burgeoning relationship with boyfriend Christian Carmichael was already drawing tabloid attention. Gia's a star in her own right, Andy said, a glimmer of hope momentarily lighting up his expression. But she's also young. We don't want to throw her into something she's not ready for. A cast on the brink. While Teresa's potential departure loomed large, Andy didn't shy away from addressing the broader issues plaguing the cast. Melissa Gorga's relationship with Teresa remained fractured, despite their best attempts at reconciliation during the last reunion. I've lost count of how many times we've tried to mediate between Teresa and Melissa, Andy confessed, shaking his head. At this point, it feels like we're asking them to put on a facade for the cameras, and that's not what this show is about. Jennifer Aydin's explosive personality, once a fan favorite for her sharp wit and over-the-top antics, had also become a point of contention. Her relentless feuds with Melissa and Margaret Josephs were reportedly wearing thin on the cast, and possibly the audience. Jennifer is a powerhouse, no doubt about it, Andy said. But there's only so much conflict a show can sustain before it starts to feel like chaos for the sake of chaos. The network's dilemma. With cast tensions at an all-time high, Bravo executives were reportedly torn between two paths, doubling down on the drama or hitting the reset button. Andy hinted that both options were on the table. We're looking at everything, he said. Could we bring in fresh blood? Sure. Could we do a soft reboot? Maybe. But the truth is, there's no magic formula. Real Housewives of New Jersey has a legacy, and we're not going to make rash decisions. Behind closed doors, some executives were said to be advocating for a major shakeup, a complete cast overhaul similar to what had been done with the Real Housewives of New York City. But others argued that New Jersey's family-centered dynamic was its unique selling point and that losing too many core members would dilute the brand. As news of Andy's update spread, fan reactions were predictably divided. Some rallied behind Teresa, urging her to prioritize her mental health and step away if that's what she needed. Others called for a fresh start, arguing that the show had become stagnant and overly reliant on recycled storylines. On social media, hashtags like #SaveRealHousewives of New Jersey and #TeamTeresa trended for hours, while Bravo fan accounts speculated wildly about what a potential reboot might look like. Would Dolores Catania stay? Could Caroline Manzo return? And what about the long-shot possibility of Danielle Staub making a comeback? Andy's final plea. As the press conference drew to a close, Andy's tone shifted from matter-of-fact to heartfelt. I know how much this show means to people, he said. It's not just a TV show, it's part of your lives. We don't take that lightly. Whatever happens next, we promise to honor the spirit of New Jersey and the fans who've been with us through it all. He paused, his eyes scanning the room as if searching for the right words to end on. Real Housewives of New Jersey is at a crossroads, no doubt about it. But if there's one thing I've learned in my years at Bravo, it's this: Housewives fans are resilient, and so are the women who make these shows great. So, stay tuned. The story's not over yet. With that, Andy stepped away from the podium, leaving fans and reporters alike with more questions than answers. One thing was clear: the future of the Real Housewives of New Jersey was anything but certain. But if there's one thing Bravo fans love, it's a cliffhanger.